opportunity today to talk about compassion and wisdom. These terms are often referred to and often heard in Buddhism. Compassion may be easy for us to understand, but not so much with wisdom. In Sanskrit or in Pali, compassion here, there are two words. One is metta, and then the other one is karuna. But when it comes to English, this word compassion, we could say that it includes two terms that we just mentioned. One is metta, the other one is karuna. Now, what exactly is metta? Well, you could say it's loving kindness as to bring happiness to sentient beings, while karuna referring to compassion that is to relieve suffering for sentient beings. And of course, we don't bring harm to sentient beings. But every time when we mention this word compassion, some other place may have just, referring to karuna, but somehow, when it translates, then we always encounter this problem that cannot really tell completely the meaning of karuna and metta. So that's what we understand for this talk, right? And we know that when talking about compassion, that is the love for all sentient beings without any defects. Not at all. And I'll talk about, the example of compassion for some stories. What about wisdom? Again, this word here, wisdom, in Pali is this word, prajna. So in English, the word wisdom does not really completely convey the meaning of prajna. So when we use wisdom, then in the Buddhist terms, it refers to the realization of the so-called impermanence and independent origination, no self, and emptiness. So it's the understanding of the true, not really understanding, but the realization of the true teaching of the Dharma. Again, when we talk about something like this, people may feel still this word wisdom is kind of not so easy to really realize. And our teacher, Sư Kong Seng Yen, said that what is wisdom is the attitude of no self. What's that mean? Attitude of no self, referring to whatever we do, whatever we think, whatever we talk, is our attitude is that we don't put the self, ourself, this ego into it. Is it easy to understand, or is it's okay to understand? And just like the example of the heart sutra, when the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara was crossing in the deep, see, prajna paramita. So here we don't use deep wisdom, but prajna paramita. He perceived that all five skandhas are empty, thereby transcending all sufferings. And I'll go on, and negate everything until there is no ignorance and there is no ending of ignorance. So no aging and death, there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. And then at the end it says, there is no wisdom or any attainment. With nothing to attain, bodhisattvas relying on prajna paramita have no obstructions in their minds. Having no obstruction, there is no fear, and departing far from confusion and imagining, they reach ultimate nirvana. See, the realization of this prajna paramita could lead us to reach nirvana, which, put it simply, is that there's no vexation at that time, no emotional affliction at that time. So we could transcend all suffering or dukkha. So this word wisdom here could be that profound for our understanding. And these two, compassion and wisdom, are both very important, because it's mentioned together. Compassion and wisdom usually mentioned together. Now, through this, just a few minutes of talking about this, then how could we develop compassion and wisdom? So I relate to what the Dalai Lama said in his talk. He said that I have found that the greatest degree of inner tranquility comes from development of love and compassion. So it's very important. The more we care for the happiness of others, the greater our own sense of well-being becomes. See? So we put the happiness of others to the more important part, and then we become tranquility and a sense of well-being. So cultivating a close, warm-hearted feeling for others automatically puts the mind at ease, put our mind at ease. So this helps remove whatever fears or insecurities we may have and give us the strength to cope with any obstacles we encounter. It is the ultimate source of success in life. From this, we could feel that even the Dalai Lama was, the way he was giving or sharing with us is that it resonates with what we have just learned from the Heart Sutra, right? He just used another way, another aspect of talking about it, but it just, it resonates with the teaching in the Heart Sutra. And interdependence is a fundamental law of nature. Now, the problem with us is that when we talk about love and compassion, there are, say, for example, it could be mixed with certain feelings like desire and attachments. So the love of parents for their child, it could be mixed with, attachments there. And the love between lovers, it also mixed with some emotional feelings in there. But when we really take a close look at all, say, for example, human beings, just say for human beings, then we share the very similar things. We need, we want happiness, we want to be comfort and joy. So everyone desires for this, and we are the same thing. And because of this, that we feel, you can say, empathy, or we feel very close to all human beings. But of course, it's not only that, but also other sentient beings as well. And that is to say, somehow when we practice to develop compassion, we need to always bring that kind of feeling back to us, and wishing the others to, not to have problems. So here is very important. Also, the Dalai Lama said that we need to remove our own hindrance. What are they? They are anger and hatred. And anger and hatred are our real enemies. Now here, referring to the anger within, the hatred within. Yeah, so we have to remove that. So it's important, right from the beginning of practicing or developing this, we have to really clear about our motivation and understanding of this compassion here. Is it coming with a selfish mind or a discriminating mind? Right? So we have to be clear about it. And well, we could refer to another thing that we often recite in our daily services, the 4 great vows. The first one being that I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. I vow to cut off endless vexations. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma. And I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood. Now, this is the 4 great vows, or in the teaching of the Northern School, it refers to the body mind. And why do we have body mind? Is actually the mind to put the first priority of, I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. Now, since we are often recite this, sometimes we forget. It's just like mechanically we recite it, but in reality, we think about it clearly. Then I think we should, just work out from there. Are we helping sentient beings? One way or the other, from small things to, gradually bigger and bigger. But it is necessary for us to really feel that that's how we practice. And then I also would like to relate it to this, the Bodhisattva having 4 ways of helping sentient beings. Now, it's very interesting about this 4 ways of attracting sentient beings. It says here, one is generosity. And then the other one is to have the so-called the words. It's called the word of love. I translate it like this. It's a term in Sanskrit. And then the third one is to behave that is having beneficial to sentient beings. And then the fourth one is to be in the same line or same position, just like sentient beings. Now, this one here, there's 4 ways of attracting sentient beings. First of all is generosity. Probably we know that generosity comes from, our wealth. Yeah, that we give money, give donation, but it's not only that. Also, our labor as well, and our knowledge as well. It could be of help, so to other people. And the second one is generosity or making dana by way of teaching the Buddha Dharma, right? And then the other one is giving dana. It's called fearless giving. Fearless giving, so that if they are in disaster, we help them to come out of the situation, something like that. And the second one is to have gentle, encouraging words. Now, this encouraging words is to encourage others so that they could be relieved from suffering, but also they could boost up the energy, but also encouraging words could be something that is not just soft, it's not just nice, but sometimes it comes into a form of being very stern. And then other people's mind will turn to, to rely on us. So this is the second one. And then the third one is that through our speech, through our thinking, and through our behavior, is to have benefit to others. Right? So we know how to do so that we feel, you could say that you feel sympathy with other people when they are in disaster, when we feel that they pain, when they feel sick, and when they worry, we could just feel that they also worry. And when they are frightened, we also feel that. So that is the case, so that we could just help themselves out of this compassion. And then number 4 is to be in same line with sentient beings, referring to just like Guan Yin Bodhisattva, when he or she is helping, he could transform himself or herself into a form that is in the same situation. Say, for example, if it's for women, Bodhisattva will transform itself into the situation or into the form of a woman to help the woman. To a merchant, to a CEO, it could be anybody, or to a child. So things like that, right? So it is in the same line, so that they will not feel the difference, the separation there. So this is 4 kinds of behavior that one could do to develop compassion and wisdom. First of all, I'd like to share the story of the Buddha in the past life, when the Buddha was a very, very big fish, a huge fish. And at that time, there was a drought happening in the country. So people have no food to eat. Many people, were starved to death. Now this big fish happened to see that the land, they cannot grow anything. They have no food to eat. So he was out of compassion, the big fish, out of compassion, that he will just offer his body, because with his big body, people in the village could survive for 1 month, right? So what he did is he jumped, from the ocean, and then just jump onto the land, and then let people eat his flesh. And of course, people just pour on and grab, and take his flesh. And it was very painful. But he would not, just let himself die, but just let them eat, because he thinks that if he died, then his meat will get rotten very easily. So it's better for him to be alive. And that's what he did. And that is in the past life. the Buddha was a fish king to offer his body. Right? So this is the example of the Buddha. And then, well, I would also like to share the some of the events that Master Empty Cloud, Master Xu Yun, he was a contemporary great chant master. Well, at the time of 1911, is many years ago, right? And there was a war going on in China, and there was a troop, and the general of the troop, pretty much, he didn't like Buddhism at all, and he was coming with his troop to this called the Jizhu San, or the mountain of a rooster's legs, Jizhu San. He started to destroy the temples. And then at that time, it happens that Master Xu Yun was there. So what he did was that Master Xu Yun, talked to this general, and this general's name is Li Yuan. And then somehow he talked to him and convinced him. And then at the end, this general, Li Yuan, take refuge in the Three Jewels under Master Xu Yun. So of course, after that, the temples are protected, monks and nuns were protected afterward. And then afterward, this general become real supporters of Buddha Dharma. Another thing is that in 1913, now again, the war is going on at that time in China. And because of the very unstable state situation, political or world situation there, and then Tibet was about to not to recognize at that time, Tibet was, wanted to separate from China. And it just happened that because of this, then again, the government want to take over. This is not the communists yet, but at that time, it's the wartime, before communists. The troop was about to come to Tibet and to take over Tibet by fighting. So that means war will be going on. Therefore, again, someone that's in high officials talked to Master Xu Yun, asked him to go to Tibet and negotiate with some leaders there. And Master Xu Yun really went there and talked to those who opposition's leaders, and then they just settle down and then they agree. So you can see that with a very brave, monk like Master Xu Yun, he really did it, right? And that's what happens. Now, when it comes to contemporary about our Shigong, Master Sheng Yan, at that time, it was in 1999, and it's September 21st. There was a big earthquake that happens in the central Taiwan, and a lot of people died. Now, this is a very good, serious earthquake. And often our Sugong's teaching was that being a bodhisattva, we somehow have to experience suffering ourselves in order to really feel a suffering of sentient beings. And because of this earthquake that he went to, comfort them in the disaster area, and of course giving some help financially as well as materially. But when he was interviewed by the television, and then what he said was that those who giving the helping hands are the bodhisattvas. Those who suffer from the disasters are great bodhisattvas. And this become, once he said that, it's like the whole country was in the feeling of settledness, peacefulness, calm. Usually what we think is that, people that is encounter so many, whatever disaster that they have, is that it's because of their causes and results, and they harvest the retribution, right? So this is usually what we think. But when Sugong was giving this, just this two phrases, it becomes like, wow, it's like something that is full of wisdom there that we could really feel. And of course, we know that he went and then comfort them and then giving them help. So you can see that this here is a very vivid example of the so-called compassion together with wisdoms, right? So now we come to the questions of how, if someone has strong compassion but lack of wisdom, how will this affect himself or others? Well, as mentioned there in the talk, compassion and wisdom need to work together. Now, if you only have compassion but no wisdoms, you may end up by being taking advantage of everything. And then you may also end up by spoiling the others. Just give and give and give. People either relying on you or they will take advantage of you because you have no guideline. So the work of wisdom always come together with compassion. And also we need to see that we need to feel out for ourselves that the act of compassion, is it just because we want something to return to us? Or we want some fame for ourselves? Or something else that is the motivation is out of this selfishness. I want fame, I want status. So that's why the wisdom here that comes is very important. And we need to practice to see clearly what exactly is our motivation in doing certain things. Of course, sometimes we don't have enough wisdom to see for ourselves. But we need to learn from the experience that whatever we do, and then we learn. You see, when going to give somebody something, if we in a way of like, I am the one that's giving you something, it's like we are very, very high. We are full of pride. People probably will not, will not take it, and then they may just reject whatever that we want to try to give to them. So we ourselves has to be humble in thanking them for giving the opportunity for us to help them, right? So at least we do something like this. So this is the first question. The second one is that in the process, when we learn to develop our compassion, which one comes first? Compassion towards ourselves or compassion towards others, and why? Well, with this compassion, or we could refer to the four great vows. The four great vows comes first with I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings. So that is to say, with the attitude of helping others, we also helping ourselves. So we could say that the feeling or the attitude of helping others come first. But how do we help others if we don't train ourselves good enough? So in return, okay, I want to help other people. So in return, I have to be good myself. So I need to strengthen myself, and then I could actually help others people. Right? So the motivation is to put sentient beings at the first priority, and then use some wisdom to see for ourselves that how could we improve ourselves, and then we could help other more. And in order to helping other more, actually we are helping ourselves. That's what happens. Okay, so I finish my talk here.
Yes, Sifu, thank you for the sharing. Allow me some time to do summary for friends.
Go ahead.
Jadi kawan-kawan, tadi sudah dijelaskan oleh Sifu, compassion artinya adalah mencakup metta dan karuna. Metta yaitu cinta kasih yang membawa kebahagiaan kepada makhluk lain. Sedangkan karuna adalah mengangkat penderitaan pada makhluk lainnya. Kebijaksanaan dalam bahasa Pali tidak sepenuhnya mengartikan dari prasna. Kebijaksanaan dalam Buddhis yaitu kesadaran akan ketidakkekalan, tiada diri, kekosongan, dan sebab akibat yang saling berkegantungan, yaitu juga yang artinya merealisasi ajaran Buddha yang sebenarnya. Sekung Sengyen menjelaskan kebijaksanaan di mana kita menempatkan makhluk lain dahulu dan tidak meletakkan aku atau diri di dalamnya. Compassion, welas asih, dan kebijaksanaan itu biasanya diletakkan bersamaan. Sangat penting kita mengembangkan kedua-duanya. Semakin kita peduli terhadap kebahagiaan yang lain, kita akan sendiri mendapat manfaat darinya. Sufu Sengyen juga ada, Koyen Sufu juga ada menjelaskan Bodhisattva ada 4 cara untuk membantu semua makhluk, yaitu kedermawanan, kata-kata yang penuh kasih, perilaku yang membawa manfaat pada semua makhluk, dan keempat yaitu memposisikan diri kita selevel atau segaris dengan makhluk lain. Compassion, welas asih, dan kebijaksanaan perlu diletakkan bersamaan. Kita dapat membantu orang lain, tetapi kebijaksanaan diperlukan agar tidak memanjakan atau supaya orang lain tidak mengambil keuntungan dari kita. Jadi di sana letaknya pentingnya kebijaksanaan di saat kita melakukan aksi welas asih. Dan kita juga harus jelas apakah kita mengedepankan ego, keuntungan pribadi, atau dengan kesombongan di saat kita melakukan aksi welas asih tersebut. Itu di sana letaknya kebijaksanaan. Dan Sifu tadi juga menjelaskan 2 kali pentingnya 4 great vow, attitude dalam membantu makhluk lain, dikedepankan dahulu, baru membantu diri sendiri. Begitu saja summary dari saya.